All right, so in this video, we have some breaking news regarding Brendan Schaub and his former handler, Mark Harley. His former handler just went on another podcast recently, and he completely exposed Brendan. He dropped a bombshell on here.
Right? Brendan's not a computer scientist.
Yeah, so I know it's hard to believe. I'm sure a lot of people are shocked by this information, but Brendan Schaub is not a computer scientist. So also Mark, he was talking about the Trug Walk and Annie Lederman and Khalyla. He had some interesting information about that as well. I mean, he made a lot of bold claims on this episode. Not only does he claim that Brendan Schaub is not a computer scientist, he also claims that Joe Rogan is done with Annie Lederman. He says you're never going to see her on the Joe Rogan Experience again.
I think at that time, Khalyla and Annie Lederman were like dogpiling on him, and I just thought that was gross as in general, of like, you're trying to like Me Too this guy essentially. And guess what? Joe Rogan agrees. I can't say that I know how I know this, but it's like, yeah. Do you think you'll see Annie Lederman on Joe Rogan anytime soon?
Probably not.
I know for a fact.
Yeah, so if that's true, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, if she's not able to promote herself on Joe's podcast anymore, that's going to be a big hit for her career. So I guess she's really paying for the whole Trug Walk incident. And I wonder if Brendan convinced Joe to not have her on anymore, or Joe just came to the conclusion that they were out of line. I think it could be a little bit of both. I think Joe just likes to avoid drama as much as possible. Like, he wants nothing to do with this, unfortunately. I mean, I'd love to see Brendan Schaub and Annie Lederman or Khalyla on the Joe Rogan Experience together. So also Mark, he starts going off on Khalyla right here, and he starts imitating her, and it's actually pretty funny.
Very sadistic to Bobby. She, you can find compilations of her attempting to humiliate him.
Yes.
I actually noticed it.
I've seen him.
Yeah. When they came out on the H3 podcast, that was really, I'm sitting there watching it going, look at the way that she emotionally steamrolls over Bobby. He's saying, I'm uncomfortable doing something. Please stop doing this. And she goes,
Right.
no, don't be a Bobby. And I'm like,
Right.
That's classic abusive, manipulative behavior. She's remorseless. I don't think she empathizes with people in a traditional way. I think she has enough emotional intelligence to like pretend and pay lip service to. She'll go, in therapy, we were talking about how we have to I'm like, shut the up. Like, you make me fucking sick. And I hope that she watches this, because, you know, it's always like this, like, oh, one of the things that we consider when I'm in the Philippines and I came back and Hawaii, and also I'm definitely not a psychopath if I talk calmly, Brendan. And then when we're on a private conversation, I'm going to scream at you, but, you know, let's just forget that. While I'm on camera, I'm going to seem calm and logical. And then I'm also going to call you a fucking piece of loser at the top of my lungs on a and say, you know what, hey, let's just put this... Right? Because like, you can imagine that, right? I'm not painting anything that's crazy.
No, and
this is that person. She's a sadistic, narcissistic psychopath.
She seems kind of scary. If you had to diagnose...
She is. And there's not just my opinion. Look at her track record. Look at the poetry that people have unearthed online.
I saw that.
She is somebody who over the course of decades has not only lied, right? Hey, guess what? Khalyla, you're not the swimmer you said you were. You didn't have a D1 scholarship. You weren't a nurse. All these things that you start to realize when you're dealing with people who have personality disorders, they lie about everything. Yes, you are a liar. You did not do the things that you said you have done, right? And that's always. Anytime you meet a dark triad personality, sociopath, Machiavellian, narcissist, look at what they say they've done. There's always going to be an exaggeration.
It's crazy. I think Khalyla has definitely taken the biggest hit from all this Trug Walk drama. Like, so many people exposed her. Like, I made a bunch of videos. Also, there's this video if you want to hear about her poems and how crazy she really is. So it definitely was not the smartest move for her to try to expose Brendan. I think she probably thought that, like, if they stir up some drama, it'll help the podcast out or help her some way. Like, I think she knew what she was doing. Like, I don't know if she was really trying to cancel him, but she was definitely trying to stir up some drama to get some attention or something. You know, she tries to act like it's just a giggly, girly talk or whatever the hell she says. But I'm sure she knew this was going to turn into something bigger, especially because during the original podcast where they talked about the Trug Walk, one of them mentioned that it was a really unfunny comedian or something like that. And of course, that's going to give it away. So they could have taken that out. You know, they could have removed that, and then people probably wouldn't have known. But they probably wanted to stir something up here, and of course it backfired on her, because you shouldn't be going after somebody trying to expose them if you're up to a bunch of sketchy shit, which she clearly is. So the real winner in this whole situation was definitely Bobby Lee. Like, he got a lot of attention for this. A lot of people felt bad for him, And then after this happened, he started doing more podcasts. He was promoting himself a lot. And him and Khalyla broke up, which is obviously really good for him. So also on this podcast, Mark talks about what it's like working with Brendan. And this must have been recorded before he got fired, because other than exposing Brendan for not actually being a computer scientist, he only really has good things to say about him.
Brendan's one of these guys where I think people will take a lot of stuff he says out of context and be like, he's an or he's this, or like, you know, because also I think he's pretty good at podcasting, which you're incentivized to, like, he's going to argue with people or kind of be a dick to Brian. And that's part of the, you know, whatever. That conversation is separate from, is this a dude who's trying his best to, you know, provide for his family and treat the people around him with respect? Yeah, 100%. And like, if you think otherwise, like, you know, it got misinterpreted a lot of ways. Like, what I would have handled it in obviously a very different way. If you put this information in my lap and I believed the person who was giving it to me, I would have dealt with it differently. But that does not mean that there's any sort of malice on his end towards, I mean, even Khalyla, you know what I mean? Because I think he was just like, you know, I don't think he realized, like, you know, what she was capable of doing in response, you know, to some of these insinuations. Because at the time, it just happened to overlap with this thing where, like, they were talking shit about him, and then, you know, it was like, that's what most people don't realize, like, these two separate timelines of, like, the Trash Tuesday girls are, like, talking shit about me, and then independently, like, somebody presented me with this information that I have to deal with. You know, it's one of the all-time great, like, coincidences, I guess. But
so it's funny that he's saying that Brendan's trying his best to treat the people around him with respect. I don't know if Mark's saying this because at this time he's still working for Brendan and he's just trying to be nice to him. But now he's just completely turned on him. Like, now Mark is saying that Brendan is a terrible person. He treated him like garbage. It was awful working for him. So I don't know what's going on there. You know, Mark could just be saying this stuff to get attention because obviously it works. Now the Fighting the Kids subreddit loves him, and he's going on Red Bar doing an interview with him. And he clearly likes the attention. Like, this guy loves being interviewed and people paying attention to him. So he also just released a voice memo that Brendan sent him. He posted it on the Fighting the Kids subreddit. And it's basically Brendan just trying to do whatever he can to get Mark to take it easy. He's like, dude, I love you, man. I thought we were best friends. Like, can I do anything to help you out? Like, I hope you're doing well. And now I guess Mark's claiming that Brendan's threatening to send him a cease and desist because I think Mark violated an NDA that he signed or something. So this could get really messy. I mean, it's already gotten messy. This is Brendan's worst nightmare right here. And I guess Mark's doing an AMA on the Fighting the Kids subreddit this Sunday. So I'm sure more is going to come out of that. If anything interesting happens there, I'll report on that. So that's about it here. Thanks for watching. Make sure you leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about all this. Then if you want some more content, check out the Patreon. I have a bunch of videos up on there. And then make sure you hit the like button here, and I'll catch you at the next video.